Okay, so who the hell is this clown anyway? And by this clown, I don't mean Ben Ron Israel. I mean me, Jackson Keller. What credentials do I have? Like, what right do I have to be talking about creative writing? And, well, the answer is basically this. I got my Master of Fine Arts in Fiction from Northern Michigan University. That means, for all the academic scholarship, language, if you don't know what that means, basically, I'm fully qualified to be a college professor in fiction, basically, in creative writing. I have several colleagues who, in fact, are taking that career track. I have not done so, but seeing them furthering their careers gave me the inspiration. Speaking of inspiration, just go ahead and do it on Twitch. So, yeah, I am credentialed insofar as I have a degree in this stuff. I've been writing seriously for over a decade. Ever since I was early on in high school, I kind of knew that this was the path I wanted to take in life. I didn't always know that I wanted to write books. I started off wanting to develop video games, but became more and more attached to writing the stories and transitioned over to prose, and I realized I didn't much care for the making the game part. However, I'm hoping that means that my perspective here is multi-genre, multi-medium, in that a lot of what I'm going to say in this lesson or otherwise about narrative, about creativity, hopefully, if you are interested, less in writing books or short stories and you're more interested in like narrative game design or film or, fan fiction or comics or whatever, what have you, hopefully there's something, my perspective is applicable enough that it applies to all those things. But I do specialize in prose, yes. And speaking of my specialties, in terms of what people have praised me for, in terms of what my colleagues tend to regard me highly for, just, based on, the compliments that I've been giving, structure is a really big one. I've studied a lot about like narrative structure and the nuts and bolts mechanics of how to guide not guide my hand on my microphone, how to guide a reader or a viewer through a story in a way that keeps the pacing sharp, that makes sense, all that stuff. Character development, theme, voice, dialogue, all those things. I really like character-driven stories, and put a great emphasis on like my individual characters. So we're going to be focusing a lot on that. Dialogue, I've been told my dialogue's pretty snappy. And then as far as the genres that I work in, mostly like long form storytelling, particularly novels. I am currently working on a creative nonfiction project right now and have a decent amount of experience in that as well. If I'm being, completely forthcoming about my weaknesses, I would have to say that like really beautiful prose is not one of my strengths. Like I tend to write from the perspective of my characters in first person for a reason, and that's that I like really voicey, character-driven dialogue, whereas a lot of the prose that we see as more literary or more lyrical, I tend to not be as good at that stuff. By a similar token, in that vein, I don't know much about poetry, and I'm not very concise either. I'm a windbag when I speak, and I'm a windbag when I write. I never met a word count, a word limit that I didn't like, just blow right over. So I have a lot of friends and colleagues who are more experienced in these things. So, if you are more interested in like poetry, I could get you maybe in touch with some of them, or like you could just ask me a question in like a Discord DM or something, and I can forward it along and get their take. But I like to be upfront about where I'm coming from, what my perspective is, especially because writing is such a subjective thing, man. Like, nobody really knows what they're doing. Everyone has imposter syndrome. So, now, as for my actual writing, where can you read it? That's the thing. Right now, you can't. However, you will be able to very soon. So, I'm preparing to publish my first novel. It's a young adult novel called Is Unbreakable. I guess this is a cover reveal. This is the first time I'm revealing my cover to the public. This is the cover of my novel. I'm aiming for a launch at the end of March. I don't have a particular deadline yet. I have to do one more round of revisions and then finish up some promotional material. When I do have a concrete date, you can absolutely find out, you know, from my Discord or from my Twitter. You know, hopefully you know, maybe you follow me on Twitter. You'll know where you'll be able to get it. And hopefully everything that I'm about to preach here, I practice in the book. But hey, if you want to get some easy own points on me, you can always buy the book and say, man, like, you said this thing in the lesson, but you didn't do it in the book, like, you hypocrite. That might be fun to do. And you're also still buying the book, so it helps me. Okay. I think that's enough preamble. So, before we get started in earnest, because I've already been talking a lot, I am gonna start with a prompt. I like to do prompts. I figure that we'll either start or finish most of these lessons with a little writing exercise. I encourage you to, like, actually do this. It'll be good experience.